And there are things like this, I mean, not necessarily as crazy like this, that happen in your life all the time, happen for businesses all the time. Venture capital, startup businesses are like this. They have an idea, and if they're around long enough, sometimes they could catch the perfect storm and explode, right? Why is Facebook here and MySpace isn't, right? Why is Spotify super popular when LimeWire wasn't? Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of, if you're around long enough and you're paying attention to the details that are affecting the different aspects of your industry or your interests or whatever, you might be able to pick up on stuff like this. There are people who saw the short squeeze coming, the potential, not the guarantee, but the potential, and place themselves accordingly. So that a $100 placement could have made you thousands, $50,000 if you played it right. Now, in your daily life, right? So there's people who are, let's try to tie it together. There's people at their company, employees at their company, who they don't know how much money they bring into the company. They don't know how much they're worth there. They don't know their own valuation. They have no idea. And this makes it difficult for them to know, should I be asking for a raise, mm-hmm. right? Maybe I'm actually bringing more money in than I realize, and I should be asking for a raise because I have more skill now. I've been here for 4 years. I have more skill. Or maybe I'm being overpaid. Maybe I'm actually not bringing anything in. I better up my productivity to swit, right? Sales representatives don't have to worry about that because they're told about their value constantly, right? With their commissions and their sales reports, they know. But the customer service agent might not, or some other the HR department person might not. They might not know how much money they're bringing into the company. Maybe compared to other people in their industry, people in other positions, maybe other positions are getting paid more, and they're getting shortchanged, right? But knowing this allows you to go at the right time to your company, right? If you pay attention to your company and you go, oh, they just had an annual general meeting, they just showed that they're up 20% on the year. Now is the perfect time for me to go and ask for a raise. But you'll never know that if you're not paying attention to the details that affect your own value. You'll just miss it completely. You might miss going to an event, a party, or a phone call that you could have made to somebody, or a book that's sitting on your shelf right now that you're not reading, that in it might be information that you don't realize will be super useful to you right now.
So somebody like invites you to some party 10 years from now when everything's back to normal, and you feel like saying no, you might want to inquire as to who's showing up. Just get more information.
Well, you think to yourself, well, what am I risking going, right? Some people don't go to the party because they risk the anxiety. But then you go, well, what am I losing, right? What is it that I'm losing by not going versus what is it that I'll lose if I do go, right? If I go, I could always leave. I have some anxiety, but that. What if I go to the party and I might meet someone or make a contact that gives me a contract or gets me a job that I wouldn't have had before, right? So if you go, well, the upside versus the downside is so much greater, then you go, well, I guess I have to go to this party, right? If I told you about this GameStop bet and I go, look, for $100 down, you might make $10,000, and I provide you with the information as to why, well, it'd be sort of silly not to take the bet, right?
Yeah.
Because you go, well, what am I going to spend my $100 on anyway? I'm going to eat it and then poop it out, which is like what I like to say. Okay, well then I should take the bet. So
a lot of this is
okay. My Hello Google stock. Sorry.
Go ahead. You can deal with your AI snoop in there if you want. Okay, so right place, right time. How can you tell if something is an opportunity for you to engage in, not engage in?
So you'll never know when the right time is. That's one of the interesting things. Timing is something you basically never get. It's lightning. When will a lightning strike occur? So you never really depend on timing. If you do get timing, some insider information, you figure out, a piece of information that most people don't have, fine. You might be able to nail timing, but you got to assume you can't do that. So if you can't do timing, then you got to go, well, is there opportunity in this industry, in this field that I'm interested in? right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to tell you, oh, I'm going to open up a physical magazine company subscription to distribute, you might be like, Tom, this is the wrong environment to do that. That's not, you don't have a high probability, a reasonable probability of success on that. But if I say, okay, Peter, you want to start a live stream, a show on a motivational show on YouTube, well, it's hardly a better time to do that, right?
A motivational comedy show. Just to be clear, a motivational comedy show. There's nothing, never been in a show like this on the internet before. You point me to one show that's like mine. One. I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom. I got.
There you go.
You triggered me.
So you go, well, everyone's stuck at home, right? People are looking for motivation. The people are rebalancing what they consume online. This is a great opportunity to do that, right? But you had to start developing these skills a couple of years ago, right? I remember you sitting inside of a basement every Wednesday on some crappy webcam doing the appreciationist, doing a show. You were learning the skills, you're developing it, and then when the right time hit, we realized, oh, this period of time is perfect time for this. This is where you jump in and you're trying to take full advantage of it, right? It might skyrocket, you might not, but you're here for it, right? You got a sense that the environment is right. We don't know if the timing's perfect, but you know that the environment's right. But you'll only know that if you're paying attention. If you get out of your comfort zone, do a little bit more work than you normally would, put down the TV a little bit, take an hour that you would have done something unproductive, value your time, and actually learn about the different metrics in your life that are affecting you. So you might imagine this health crisis thing happens, and we sort of think it's silly, like people nowadays think it's silly to have a year's worth of rent prepared in your savings account, right?
Yeah.
If you had told someone that before, you'd be like, why would I have a year's worth of rent?
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't seem so silly now, right? Doesn't seem so silly now.
I
but back
remember hearing
in Depression era day.
I remember hearing someone told me that in Russia, it's common practice to have at least 3 months for your business or 3 months for your rent, because they know that the floor can drop out from under you at any time.
That's exactly it. So if you have that, if you're prepared yourself in such a way that you could be around long enough that you can suffer volatility, that you can suffer some downturns, then you could be there when the timing is right.
And how do you?
That's what I like about the GameStop example. That it's like there are people who made a fortune because they're at the right place at the right time. 6 months ago, no one was talking about it, and now everyone was. But 6 months ago, people were like, I think I want to be around for that. I think if it happens, I might want to be around for that.
I imagine,
and I find that just so inspiring.
I imagine that the metrics, the information that you get from one topic to the other will be different in order for you to evaluate whether or not an opportunity is a good opportunity. But is there any sort of general big picture criteria? Like, how do you tell? Like, I remember watching the news and the financial news, and they're like, look, if we're talking about it on financial news, this is no longer a secret. Like, don't come into this thinking you're the person who's getting in on the game. Like the moment it hits the news, the moment it hits the TV, the moment everybody's talking about it, I think I remember you telling me that. That's probably the moment where you're not sort of interested in it, and vice versa.
That's right. Yeah, but if you're getting it from just regular mainstream, right, then it's too late. Financial markets or anything. If you're hearing about the trend because your parents told you about it. Hey, did you hear about Bitcoin? Okay, maybe not the best time to, maybe not the best time to get it. Maybe you missed the boat a bit there. But that's why it's useful. That's why it's useful to have a group of early adopters in whatever industry that you care about, a group of early adopters that you could pay attention to, that you like to consume, right? It could be news, it could be podcasts, it could be entertainment, whatever. Early adopter people that you go, okay, I'm gonna regularly listen an hour every day, an hour every week. I'm gonna listen to what these people have to say, and when they say something that's interesting, that's something that's percolating at the beginning, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to it. I remember back, how many years, Peter, was it that we used to watch Film Riot, right? This is a a show we watched on Revision 3, this online channel. It's on YouTube now. And these people who are making commercials and making videos, making movies, they were teaching you how to use camera equipment and audio equipment and all that. And we didn't have any of that stuff. None of it. But how many hours did we spend? Okay, we're just going to pay attention to it. I mean, it wasn't even like, oh, one day we'll use this.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if we're going to use time to consume entertainment, let's watch some entertainment that's like useful, that might teach us something. And then it turned out that ended up being super useful now. Or when I got into developing websites, right? I wasn't doing any websites. Mm-hmm. Like that wasn't my job. But I was just started doing websites on the side. I just started doing websites on the side just for fun, to do to learn something, to I want to learn how. I just wanted to use some of my entertainment time to do that. And then it turned out, then I worked in that for the last 10 years, 10, 11, 12 years. Like, I didn't know that was going to be the case. And so if there's one thing I would want people to take away from that, is that your time, what you pay attention to, what you give your attention to, is so unbelievably important. But the only way you'll really understand how important it is, from my perspective, is if you put a number to it. If you go, this is what my time is worth. Every hour of my time is worth $100. And then you go, I just binge watched a season on Netflix. I just spent $8,000 of my time. That's how, if you think of it that way, and you go, oh man, let me peel off $2,000 worth of my time and literally spend my time on this other thing, then I think you might be more inclined to do it. And that's what being in the financial markets, even cursorily, has taught me, to measure it in probability, measure it in potential outcome, put a dollar quantity to it, and all of a sudden you'll notice your behavior changes pretty drastically. Would I like to make $15,000? Yeah. Would I like to lose $5,000? No. So don't do it. Don't
go out binge drinking every weekend over the summer, because that $2,000, you could put that into an investment that could yield you double or triple or something in the future.
Like I said, that the happy hour that you're doing from 5 to 7 not only costs you that much in drinks, but also costs you, if you value your time at $100 an hour, it costs you $200 extra on top of what you spend. And then the hangover the next day, when you're hungover for 2 or 3 hours, that's costing you another $300 as well. And when you put it that way, then you go, do I want to go to a happy hour? Well, do I want to spend $700 on top of what I'm going to drink? No. Great. Easy decision.
How do you determine?
Simple.
Your self-valuation, how do you determine what your price per hour is? Like, you might some yeah.
Two things, two easy ways. The first one is that you already have a price per hour. You go, how much money do I make in a given time? Divide that by the number of working hours, which is a third of a day. And that'll give you your current hourly rate. But then you go, well, what is the hourly rate I would want to be valued at? Well, then you have to be productive at that rate. So if you're getting paid $30 an hour and you want to be worth $150 an hour, well, then you better do 5 times more work in the same period of time, buddy. If you're not doing 5 times more work, you ain't worth $150.
Well, it might not be.
I mean, productivity. I don't mean number of times worked. Yeah. I mean productivity. You need to be able to output that much more.
Yeah, you're the one who told me, like, the reason why an employer would pay you $15 an hour is because you are providing at least that amount in productivity, or else they'd be losing money hiring you. And so if you want to get paid more from your employer, you have to provide them with more than whatever you're asking for in terms of productivity, so that there's a justification for it. It can't just be like, because I want to.
Well, it's to be a no-brainer, right? If you make the case if you go to your boss and you go, oh, I think I need a raise because I've been here for 3 years. I need a cost of living adjustment. What employer wants to hear that? They're like, yeah, my cost of living also went up. I'm not interested in that. But if you go, I've increased my productivity by 20% this year. I've brought this much money, this much money into you. Either you give me a raise, or I'm going to this I'm taking this other job, which I already did an interview for, and they're willing to hire me at this amount. Then I'm going to leave. Then they have to raise your pay. They have to. Or if they don't, you just jump ship. But it takes you to do the work and prepare yourself right? Beef up the right metrics so that you can make a play like that.
And that's why it's important to do your homework and do your own evaluation on yourself to know, like, how much money are you bringing into the company? Like, how much are you worth to folks, right? You might not even realize that you can ask for a raise. It might not even be a question that you've even considered. But once you realize, hey, hang on a second, I have all the skill set. I've been working here for 7 years. I'm not really replaceable. I now I can do the math on actually how much I can ask for a raise and what can I expect and what's fair and all that stuff. It's the same thing you do with a car, right? I'm looking for a purchase of a car, and you're like, okay, well, what is the true value of this vehicle? What can it give to me? It kind of helps you make all the decisions that you want in your life if you can actually start putting metrics or dollar amounts in this case to yourself or to whatever it is you want to do. And it's a great way of thinking of yourself because let's say you're not planning on asking for a raise, you're not doing any of that, but you do think that you do value your time at $50 an hour or something like that. And then you start realizing, hey, if I watch Netflix, if I do this, do that, watching this show really is $2,000 worth of my time. Like, that's actually what it is, as opposed to feeling like, oh, I just wasted my time today. Well, no, but you wasted it this amount. Doesn't that shock you even more? Like, it's far more impactful to have a metric, a measurement to yourself or to whatever you care about, to what you value, as opposed to just it being this nebulous thing. My employer doesn't value me. Like, yeah, but how much?
That's exactly right. And it's not only just mention stuff. I just want to add on there. If you spend an hour complaining to your friend about something, then you just spent that amount of time, money on doing it. So you might say to yourself, I'll save money just by feeling bad about the thing and paying attention and doing something that's actually helpful to me, right? That's why they say the best revenge is a life well lived, because why spend extra on complaining?
Yeah, that's right. It is costing you. Before all this, I used to tell people in our sessions and in events, if you wouldn't spend $5 on it, why would you spend 5 minutes on it? You spend 5 minutes arguing with someone about something or complaining or whatever it is. Would you spend money to do that? Like, would you spend money to have this conversation? Would you spend money to deal with this person? If not, then why would you spend your time, which is worth way more than money? Right? And when I started, actually a few people used to come up to me and be like, that is actually a wild way of thinking about it. To me, it was just a negative thought that I had in my head. It was just a negative conversation, but quantifying it made it absurd. Like, the absurdity of the situation was revealed. It's kind of like when you do the math on how much you're paying for cigarettes or for coffee or for whatever every month, and you realize, what? I'm spending $300 a month on fast food. I remember I did the math. I was spending $400 a month, $100 a week. It was about $20 a day, or give or take, a month on fast food, on junk food. And I was like, wait, hang on a second. That's a pay raise. That's a jump in bracket. What else could I do with that $400 a month? I could buy, all the things you could get. It's kind of incredible. Tom.
And to spend $300 a month, you got to earn $600 a month, because the G-men want their 50%.
You got to pay those taxes.
Capital gains. Taxes. Whew. Whew.
What a world, Tom. I wish that everybody understood. One of the reasons we're doing this, especially for Jumpstart, is that I want everyone to understand how important it is to understand finances, okay? It's extremely important, not only if you care about the stock market. I listen to the stock market. I pay attention to financial news all the time. Every single day I listen to hours of it, not because I'm investing in the stock market. I don't have a dollar invested in the stock market. But it helps you to understand what's happening in the world, and it helps you to understand how to think about your own life. The economy, money, financials is actually at the foundation of life, because all of life is transactional, right? There's always an exchange of energy, an exchange of something when you're doing anything. And it's important to understand the dynamics of it, how the waves work. You might not understand the details of it, but just having a general understanding can really help you in your everyday life. Tom Hartman, you've given us a great education here today. I don't even want to keep you along. I mean, we've been on here for quite a while, much longer than we expected. I know you got things to do. I'm only going to ask you this because we had mentioned it in the previous video, and I know you wanted to talk about it here today. But if you feel like it's too long, we'll just save it. There's no problem in tabling this barbell strategy. Do you want to?
Yeah, so I'll just preface that by saying that I keep referring to the Nicholas Taleb's Inserto series, his book series, also on audiobooks. You definitely want to check it out. It is absolutely worth the time, and it teaches you a lot of these concepts of anti-fragility, skin in the game, how to read randomness, and it really prepares you for how to deal with probability and uncertainty. But that aside, Nicholas Taleb talks about this barbell strategy, which, just to boil it down, you basically want to, of your disposable income, right? Anything that you're putting towards investing or any productive means, you want 80% of that portfolio to be things that are safe, and you want 20% of it to be things that are risky with high possible returns. So the reason for that is that, if the 20% goes awry, well, you're not, living on the street. You're having your 80% there that's there to support you, but you'll never really get rich on the surefire thing, on the surefire, repeatable thing, right? So I use this example with you, Peter, all the time. You're an employee at a company. You've been there for a few years. You're never going to get rich working at the company. I mean, unless you make commissions or you have options on the company or whatever. But in general, just from your regular pay, from your salary, you're not necessarily going to get rich from that company or well off or whatever it is you're trying to gain. But the side thing that you're studying on the side podcast that you decide to do, the arts and craft thing that you're selling on Etsy, the whatever you're doing on the side that has a higher risk to it, that you spend a little bit of time on it, but has a potential to return a lot. And so try to think of your life in that way. Think to yourself, of the time that I'm not sleeping and I'm not working, what is the 80% of my time that I'm using? I want to be productive. I want to do something that'll be good for me. Let me do 80% in something that's more surefire. So that might be learn a little bit more about your industry, shore up your knowledge in a particular subject that that you're using your day-to-day, right? So you become more productive in what you're doing. And then 20% of my disposable time, do something just completely different. That's just something that can be that could return a lot, but I don't know for sure. It's a gamble, but I'm spending 20% of my time on that.
That reminds me of what happens with Google, right? Didn't Google have this policy where their employees, they would spend 20% or 15% of their time on whatever project that they wanted it could be totally unrelated to their work. And products like Gmail and Google Docs or things like that came out of that not because Google set a mission to create this, but because people just exploring their own ingenuity and giving themselves sort of a wild card optionality, the opportunity to discover something or to have a reward that was far greater than what their actual job entailed.
That's exactly right. You'll probably laugh at me for this analogy. It's a very Tom analogy, but I think of it very much like the sun, right? We know that all the elements have come out of nuclear fusion in the sun through helium and hydrogen in the sun. The helium and hydrogen and the nuclear fusion of the sun is bouncing around, and then sometimes a new element, a particle will bounce out of the sun, get radiated out, get past the gravitational field and go out into the universe and become something new. So you have your base inside the sun that's generating the nuclear reaction, and then sometimes, boom, something pops out of it. And that's how creativity works. Creativity comes from you have a base knowledge that you're knocking together. You know how to do this thing, and then you try something different, or a new piece of information comes in, and bah, you have a new idea that occurs to you. It just sparks out of this core. But you need that base core for safety, right? Because if you did all random, all chaotic, all creative, because you're jumping from one thing to the next constantly, you'll never, you might succeed greatly and you might fail drastically, right? You're putting at risk a lot. But if you have that base with a little bit of extra spice, well, then you can have, not only will you have an interesting time, a safe, interesting time, but you open yourself up to uncertainty, to volatility, to the unknown, to creativity.
There you have it, folks. I love that. The barbell strategy, 80-20, 80% on something that's safer, 20% on something that is riskier but has great returns. It's an investment strategy, but also a strategy for life. Hey there, folks. Oh, hope you had a good time here today. Hope you enjoyed learning. I really like learning. Look, you might be the type of person who's like, I don't really care about finance. I don't care about stocks. You should. I mean, a huge part of our system depends on it. And if you want to understand politics, if you want to understand education, if you want to understand healthcare, if you want to understand things, you got to understand how money flows. And so I think it's very important, which is why I included it in the show, which is why we included it in Jumpstart.